Hi there, this is Linda and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. In today's video, I'm putting together my Project Life spread for the week of November 3rd through November 9th, and I'm using the Cocoa Daisy collection from November 2025 called Moss Mirth. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so this is the week of November 3rd through November 9th, and this week was super busy at work. I went to Brooklyn for Wednesday through Friday for work, so that's a lot of my photos, and I'm just going to kind of sort them. So like these ones are from Brooklyn, that's from traveling down, that's from traveling back, that's it. Everything else is, only these three photos are not from, this is from the weekend. And these two are from like the week. And then let's see, we have my train ride down and my sushi in my room. So I was there for work, so I obviously couldn't take photos of work, but while I was there, I visited a couple of craft stores. And then I had this photo from the train station. There we go. Something like that, maybe. I don't know yet exactly how I'm gonna arrange them. Actually, I probably want one like this. I don't know. We'll see. So I am working with the Moss Mirth collection from Cocoa Daisy, and this is the November kits. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the cards first to figure out kind of what I want in here. So this week was super busy, and I feel like this kit is very like cozy, fall themed. So not exactly my week, but I think I can make it work. I think the colors are going to work really well. So like maybe that would be good for the weekend journaling. And this one because I was on the road and I didn't want to be on the road. So I live a couple hours north of New York City, and I actually used to live in New York City, and I do love going to New York City, but I just was not feeling it this week. I feel like I can use this card to document Daigo Sushi, which is one of the things I get when I go down there for work. It's right near the hotel I stay in, and it's just a very good sushi. This is a potential journaling card. This is great for my weekend home. So I just kind of am gonna look at what my notes are for the week. So normally my notes I take in my take a note, but I have been trying different things out in my Hobonichi cousin. And for this week, I did a spread inspired by Helen from the Coffee Monster Co. So it's very detailed of what I actually did. So I'm actually going to use this for reference in terms of figuring out what I did this week for stories. So I'm just going to put that to the side here. So I need a card about my story going to the city. This is going to be specifically about that. This could be about my trip, honestly. So my trip had a lot of pitfalls. Well, from work being, so I'm an attorney, if you don't know that. So I had a big trial. And so that was two very long days in New York City, plus just like the travel. But there were also a lot of like issues with the trains, and my train broke down about an hour and a half south of where I live, and it was raining and cold, and it was late at night, and I just wanted to get home, and it was very, very frustrating. So that, I think I can document a little bit about that the travel experience itself, like the train. And then I think I'm going to use maybe like this one. I always like to include a bullet point list for like micro stories. And maybe on there, I will say like, this is what was like, I went down to the city. And then I think I really like this one. I'm not sure what I'm going to put on it, but I just think it's super pretty. Okay. So then let's go through the rest of my products here. I've got the chipboard. And trying to think like what I feel like this could be super cute, putting one of these circles in the middle there, or this on here. I like that idea of using some of these chipboard. Let's see what else we have here. So if you don't know what kits I'm working with, I have the scrapbook kit and the classic cousin sticker kit, the pocket card add-on, this stationery kit, and the washi trio. And I have a video that I share when those kits first come out, sharing a complete look at an unboxing of everything I get. I've obviously already put some things I've already put together some projects using these kits. So I don't have everything here anymore, but I do still have a lot of supplies left. But I do have a video showing that unboxing. So if you're interested, you can definitely go check that out. I'm just gonna kind of go through the rest of the supplies, and they're all out of order because I am so bad at putting things back in order. There's a lot of these like mushrooms, which don't really fit my story for this week. That's okay. I don't need to use those. There's a lot of other things in the kit, and I could definitely use those in other spreads. I might use these for my bullet point list, so I'm just gonna put those to the side. These are from the classic cousin sticker kit, but I've used them before to document or to create my own filler cards. So like I could put like this one on top of there. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that though. I might want something else on there. Those are vellum stickers. A lot of these stickers are better for in my journal, but they obviously do work in Project Life. Like the word phrase strips are good for Project Life. There's pattern papers, but I don't need those today because I already have cards for everything. And I don't need to give myself more options once I've already selected things. Let's see here, we've got alphas, a little notepad, this coffee mug, and stuff like that could be good. Those are possibilities to use. And then here, let's see, I've got some nice die cuts. So there's these like vellum circles, and these might be good as a repeated embellishment on some of my photos. I feel like I want to pair them with something. I'm just not sure with what. Maybe a sticker. Okay, so I think I have a basic idea of what I want to do. What I'm going to do now is put you guys on voiceover so I can actually start putting this together and think about how I want things to go without having to talk through the process. And yeah, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'm going to start with the journaling on this card. This spread is kind of journaling heavy because there were a lot of big stories this week, or not really big stories, but just stories this week. So I wanted to start with that journaling card, but I did go back and add some highlighting on that title card. But for this card, I'm journaling about visiting this sushi place I really like in Brooklyn called Dago Sushi. I went there twice when I was in the city for work. I had a really long days while I was working in the city. So I did go there the first night that I got in, and then I went there again for lunch on my way out of the city. And I wanted to document that around that theme of the sushi restaurant, both because this card fit that story really well, but also my work itself, I don't really document because there's a lot of secrecy around it, but this was kind of a unifying story at the beginning and the end that I really wanted to include in my project. I was looking at my rolling stamps there, so that's why my arm keeps going above where I film is where I have a little bin of all of my rolling stamps, and I was looking for my date stamp. For whatever reason, I couldn't locate it. Back to that title card. So the Cocoa Daisy kits come with these title cards, and on one side they have the Monday start, the other side they have the Sunday start, which is great because I prefer Monday start, and I know that that is not common for Americans, but I really feel like the week starts on Monday. So I also start my Project Life weeks on Monday. So I wanted to use that card as my title card, but instead of adding the dates on there, I used a mild liner to highlight the week that this spread includes. These vellum circles from the kit, I decided I really wanted to use them all up in this spread. I really love using up an embellishment so that I don't have one or two to put in my stash, because I'm really trying to reduce the size of my stash. And every time I use something in its entirety, I kind of get this sense of accomplishment. So I'm going to get all 7 of those on this spread, even though maybe that was a little bit much. So that photo was from the train ride down to the city I was reading, and I finished my book, so I documented that. I am basically using these vellum circles as a base for whatever embellishments I'm putting onto my cards. Some of them are going to be paired with chipboard. Some are with labels and word phrase strips. The labels and word phrase strips are from the Coco DZ Classic Cousin sticker kit, but the chipboard pieces and those thicker embellishments are from the scrapbook kit. So I really like kind of mixing and matching the kits when I'm working on my projects. For that photo of sunrise, I just added one of the word phrase strips. So some of these other photos that don't have one of these vellum circles, I'm adding a few other little embellishments on. A couple of them I add just a chipboard piece by itself, and that one I added the word phrase strip. For this one, this is a photo of the train station in New York City on the way home. So I'm just adding a label on there that says heading home, just to kind of document that story, and just adding a little bit more of the story to the photos. This photo is of Pumpkin. We got a new blanket over the weekend to add in the reading room, and he is obsessed with it. And so I wanted to document that we got this new blanket. Like I said, the spread is kind of dominated by my trip to New York City. So because the rest of the week was just kind of ordinary life, but I wanted to include these little details like the sunrise I saw earlier in the week and the new blanket that I got in my reading room, that picture of Pumpkin in it, I absolutely love. I'm moving on to this journal card here, which says adulting level. And I'm just adding some of the dots from the kit to highlight some of the different options. I think I selected coffee, a playlist, and avoidance. So it was basically like, how did you survive the week? And I thought that this would be perfect to document just the overall trip to New York City, because it was so stressful. Like I said, I can't really document that much about the work I do, but I did make note of, that I was at a hearing and kind of the general topic of the hearing. I think that in years to come, I will probably remember what case it was prompted by this information. But the main thing I wanted to document here was my horror story that is Amtrak and the fight I had with them. So I live about 3 hours north of New York City, so I have to take the train down when I go down there for work. And I took Amtrak, and there was no trouble on the way down, but the way back was a nightmare. My train broke down about an hour and a half from home, and they basically were like, get off the train here, or you can wait until we fix the train, which is some undetermined time. It could be up to like 5 hours. Well, I was already only scheduled to get home at 7:30 p.m., which is really late after a long day of work. And, I just really wanted to get home and get to bed. It was cold. It was raining. And so I was like, well, that's not really acceptable. So I ended up having to buy a ticket on the next train that came through, which was another $43, which was obnoxious because I already paid for the ticket on the first train. And I figured, I had to wait, 20 minutes to get onto the next train by the time I figured all of this out. And then I didn't get home till like 9 o'clock, which was much later than originally anticipated, but I bought 2 train tickets home, and they didn't reimburse me for either of them. They gave me a voucher for money off a future ticket that was less than either of the tickets that I bought. So basically not enough to buy a ticket anywhere. Plus I don't take Amtrak for personal reasons. So it was very frustrating. So just wanted to put that story out there because that was kind of my week. And the train did end up getting fixed, and I think the people that were on it got home about midnight, so I did make the right call by buying a ticket to the other train, but it was still pretty frustrating. So this card here says an ideal day of rest. And so what I decided to do was use this just to document our weekend, because after this very stressful long week in the city, I just needed a quiet weekend at home. We did actually end up doing some shopping, and we had a guy come to fix our Wi-Fi in the house. So it wasn't totally rest, but I just wanted to kind of highlight the weekend, and I felt like that card worked for it. Once I do my journaling, it kind of changes the weight of the cards. I hope that that makes sense. But essentially, when you like kind of stand back and look at the spread, each card has a weight based on how dark and busy it is. And once you fill in a white journaling card, it definitely makes it a little bit heavier. So after having that journaling in there, I kind of just wanted to rearrange the cards a little bit and make sure everything was balanced. On the middle of that filler card that I just absolutely love, I added one of the vellum circles and a chipboard piece right in the middle of it. I thought that was a perfect way to use that card. And I do still have, I think, one more vellum circle at this point, and I was determined to fit it on the spread. I originally thought about putting it on those books. That was a photo of a bookshop in New York City that I stopped at while I was down there. But what I ended up doing was putting it onto the title card and then filling it with one of the chipboard pieces. This was just a pattern chipboard, but I thought it just added something a little bit extra to that title card and helped kind of balance the spread and used up that vellum piece that I really, really wanted to use. I'm moving on to this card here with stripes on it. This is perfect for my bullet point list. So during Project Life or doing Project Life, I like to include a bullet point list in pretty much every spread, which is just a list of like little stories from the week. So my main focus with Project Life is to capture those micro stories from our lives, the types of things that you wouldn't create a traditional scrapbook layout about, or maybe won't fall in my journal because it's just like something small. So this was just kind of like the general feeling of the week, that I was super exhausted, the days that I telecommuted, that I got Shake Shack while I was in the city with my coworkers. And I made a huge mistake on Friday walking back from my hearing with my nice shoes on, and my feet were killing me. So those were the stories that I documented there. I actually realized I didn't document the craft stores that I visited while I was in the city, which really wasn't that much because, like I said, I was so busy. But I do have a couple of photos on the right-hand side from when I was in the city from that. So I think that you can kind of get that story without the words. So sometimes the photos themselves will tell the story. So I'm going to go ahead and slip everything in the pockets and take a final look at the spread, make sure that it is actually, done in my mind how I like it. And, I think I was really happy with how the spread came together. I did include a couple of filler cards this week. I think I have 3, which is pretty high for me, but there were a lot of photos and a lot of stories, and it just felt like it needed a little bit more space to kind of break those up. And those filler cards really helped with that. I had that one pattern one on the right-hand side, and then on the left-hand side, I chose 2 of the sentiment cards from the kit. There were a lot of options that worked really well for the stories I wanted to tell. And one of them says, "Home, this is where we belong," which I thought was really good for this week because I went to the city and I was pretty homesick. I just wanted to come home and sleep. That's pretty much how I feel when I'm exhausted. So that is going to wrap this one up. Here is a look at that completed spread. I'm super thrilled with how this one came together and the ability to use the November kit in November in my Project Life album. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys on the next one. Bye.